Strange, isn't it? From childhood, we have been told that the universe is endless. It was said that there are millions of worlds out there, and that none of them can be reached.
Hi guys, and welcome back to the channel. Today let's review Undungeon. A free Steam key was provided by the developer, so thank you for that. That will not impact any of my opinions, of course. I'll just look at a game and I'll like it or I don't. That's as simple as that. Anyway, Undungeon is an isometric action RPG. You play this Herald character called Void, I believe, who is a messenger of the gods, and he's sort of assembled by parts, and he just looks like the Grim Reaper, basically. And his task is to like mend the world or create a new reality from the current one that is sort of fractured and corrupted. I think it's really bizarre, but I really love the pixel art. It's just great. It's a bizarre and beautiful world. It has some lovely drawn characters and little animations, and that really matches that wild sci-fi storyline that is there, and it is intriguing. It really is. There is this dynamic overworld from where you access various locations. So you travel from one place to the next. These locations that you visit are isometric levels where you can, for instance, talk to an NPC, get a side quest, fight enemies, find items, that sort of thing. These levels are usually not that big and really focus on fighting and combat, but about that a little later. I really like the progression system in this game. And the progression revolves around killing enemies, of course, and from doing that you get all these items, all these ingredients, and you can use those ingredients at the central hub to create new organs for your character so that your stats will be better. Also, you can install various ruins that you can find in the various locations and install those in your core. I mean, in theory, this is a really great progression system that sort of allows for sort of a tailor-made character. You can focus on defending, or you can focus on like more melee a character. But the problem is the execution here, because it doesn't really work that well. Because, for instance, the ruins that you'll find only have minor changes to the stats of your character. Like, for instance, there's this like a ruin that will give you 1.3 extra strength or something, or there is a ruin that will make you deal just 0.7 extra damage with your claws or something like that. So you never feel that you are sort of really building your character the way you want it. And when you die, which will happen a lot, and I'll talk about the combat later on, but when you die, you also lose the organs that you've installed prior, or they will degrade so that you need to make new ones. So that sort of feels that you're doing it all over again. And that brings me to the combat. The combat consists of moving around the isometric levels basically in 4 directions, which is a bit strange. You can only go up, down, left and right. There's really no nuance in movement. And you can dash, and you can hack and slash with your claws and throw knives and bombs. And the biggest problem with the combat is that if an enemy hits you one time, the next time they'll do 100% extra damage. And I understand that this is done to make you dodge out of the way when you're fighting enemies, and to really keep you on your toes, so to speak. So again, this sounds fun, but in reality, in the gameplay, there are basically 3 problems with this combat. First of all, I find that if you're giving the enemy a 100% extra damage, then that is an artificial way of ramping up the difficulty of the combat. It's not skill-based. It's just sort of random. Oh, he hits you. Now he can do 100% extra damage. Secondly, you will find that you'll be fighting a lot of enemies at the same time, and they can swarm you. So it's sometimes very hard to see what is going on because of the flashy nature of the pixel art. There's a lot of things going on, and things are not helped, and that's the third problem, because of the isometric view, where certain obstacles you can be obscured because of that. You can be standing behind a big boulder and fights can take place there. You can't always see what is going on, and sometimes you are hit by an enemy and there's really nothing you could do about it because you couldn't really see what was going on, and it has to do with the geometry of the levels, you know, the isometric view. And it's a problem with most isometric games is that certain stuff, your character can be obscured by the level design. So that sort of makes it so that the combat in this game is just gruesome at times, you know, and it ramps up pretty fast. Certain sections of the game over and over again. Now you can save your progression at these little locations where there's a mirror, so that's fine. But at some point I had finished all the side quests, and there wasn't really anything to do anymore than to go to that location and continue the main quest. But I kept dying there. I kept dying, so there's no way to then stop doing that quest and just doing the side things so that you can build your character a little more, because there are no quests anymore. So you need to beat that particular boss that's there in order to continue the main story. So I ran out of things to do, and the combat just became almost impossible because you run into this wall. So I think that the developers have something special on their hands with this game, because there's so much charm here, there's so much stuff. So the pixel art, the lore, the little quests, there's humor, but they need to fix the progression so that you actually feel like you're progressing and you really do get stronger. I mean, there are weapons you can find, or you can find new claws with different stats and different effects, and you can find certain shields that you can use against incoming attacks. So there are ways to sort of remedy the 100% extra damage that the enemies do, but still it just feels unfair and unbalanced because of that. And I think a lot of people will run into that problem, that they just cannot progress any further unless they keep trying and trying, you know, the trial and error type of stuff, then hoping that at some point you sort of you win that battle and can continue. So I think this game needs more work. It needs more work, and I hope that developers continue to add stuff to this game so a broader audience can really enjoy it. And I also believe that there are going to be more heralds, or there were more heralds promised, so more characters to use and play the game. I think that would be awesome, like a character that relies on long-range attacks or ranged attacks. That would be awesome, so that people have more variety in certain to use a certain character that suits them more than just this one character that is now in the game that is basically really only usable for up close and personal strategies. And again, then you run into that problem that once you get hit, because you need to get into that fight, and once you get hit, the enemies will do 100% more damage. It's crazy why that's in there. So, you know, they can easily fix that by just removing that feature, and then I think the game will be better for it. Again, a game that needs more work, and as it stands, I cannot really recommend you picking this up right now, but do keep an eye on it, because I think there's a lot of promise here, and again, the pixel art is gorgeous. So that's what I think of Undungeon. Let me know what you think, and see you next time.